you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Alrighty, welcome and good morning. This is Tuesday, October the 8th, 2024, edition of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And we thank you for calling in and listening. Yes, thank you, Corey. Yes, we are up and we are running. This is the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. We'd like you to get in contact with the show, and you can do so by calling 516-453-9921. And as Corey did, just press the number 1 button if you have a question or comment. And just wait until you are recognized, and then you can ask your questions. You can also join the chat room. Go to blogtalkradio.com. When you get that, you want to click on where it says Programs. You click that menu, and then a list of shows will come up, and you want to produce just this show. You click that on, and then a little box for the calls or chats, you can do that. And then occasionally I will read some of the chats from the chat room, and you can do that, and that'll be good. Also, if you prefer not to do those 2 methods, then you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, at gmail.com. Excuse me. I will get the email or Gmail, and I will read it at an appointed time and let you know about that, and you can hear your Gmail and have Mr. Fuller respond to it. Okay. The book that Mr. Fuller will be discussing from is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. And you can get that book by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. And, yeah, that's all you have to do. Now, somebody is saying that the blog page still shows more than an hour until start time, but the chat is functioning. Yeah, the show is functioning now because I have Corey call in, and I'm going to have Mr. Fuller do his thing. So you can call in now. So everything right now is good. We did have a little technical problem, but we got that all solved. So yeah, do your thing. Okay, let's the book. Yeah, you can get by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. A lot of things happen in radio that a lot of people aren't aware of, and we try to make it as smooth as possible to make it seem like there are no glitches, but sometimes there are. These things happen just as in life they do for whatever the reason. But anyway, we're up and we're going. We're good to go. Okay, with that being said, let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Mr. Fuller, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
All righty. Now we have a segment that we call the Thoughts and Expressions on the Mind of Neely Fuller, Jr. Mr. Fuller, today being October the 8th, 2024, what is on your mind that you would like to start today's program off with?
Well, I'd like to reemphasize what the goal is for what I would say should be, in a compensatory way, the goals of the people of the planet, and particularly people of color, who the legend has it that we're the most backward, and particularly the people who are specifically identified as black on planet Earth here in the year 24. We're kind of thought of as the most backward people. People who are not even, most recently just considered to be borderline people. That we were something else, something other than people. Not exactly animals, but not exactly people either. Parts of people. And the people standard being someone who was classified as white. And so that's mostly the standard that a lot of people use, even here in the year 2024. That when you see a person, someone that looks like a person, but they have black skin, or something that you classify as non-white, that's a semi-person, but not quite a person. If it's not quite a person, what is it? Is it an asteroid or what? Well, something similar to a person, but not quite a person. Well, is it an ape or a monkey? Could be, but not necessarily. But just not quite a person. Now, if you see something that looks like what you would call a person, and they have white skin, well, now you don't have to second guess that at all. That's a bona fide. That's the real deal. That's a person. You're looking at a person. In fact, you're looking at what, in popular language, in any language, worldwide, a human being, if it has white skin. But if it has dark skin, well, you're pretty sure it's not a human being. And you may be a little bit doubtful and if you're highly educated, quote unquote, you might come to the conclusion that it's not quite a person. And so you don't have to really treat it as such. It's a thing, but we can't quite put our fingers on what it is. Okay? So just be aware of it, and you have a license to kill it if you want to, because it really doesn't matter too much one way or the other. But you don't have to rate it as a person. So what black people should be doing is not saying so much trying to prove that we're people or that we are black people per se, or even a strong, intelligent, human black person. We should say we're working to be what everybody should be and what nobody is, universal man and universal woman. Now, that's what everybody on the planet should be trying to be. And what is a universal man or a universal woman? Something very specific. That's a person that's totally in tune with everything that is of constructive value in the known universe. And nobody has qualified for that. And see, we don't need to squabble back and forth about who's more intelligent than who and all like that. You can look at the behavior of all of the creatures on this planet called Earth in the year 2024 and say that nobody is qualified to be a human being. Let's just start off at that level. Why? Because human beings, first of all, just right out of the gate, they don't kill each other. And it's killing among all what you call people on planet Earth in the year 2024. So we don't qualify as being people who are qualified to be breathing, really, what was created by our Creator, and that is this air. We're not really qualified to even be here and acting like we're acting, all of us. So until we become universal man and universal woman, we should be in the process of becoming that, and nothing short of that. And universal man and universal woman are human beings, which means we're always humane, which means we always, first of all, just do a little thing like practice justice. We're nowhere near that yet. Nobody is. So we should try to be, and I've added to, as an umbrella, everything that I'm talking about, including the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. And I'm saying we should be trying to be universal Social Security Corps. Made up a term.
Mm-hmm.
I just made it up maybe about 3 years ago, and I'm tinkering with it because I'm saying I'm fixing it so that we can take in the Constitution of the United States, the Declaration of Independence, and black people stop squabbling back and forth among ourselves and with others about the Constitution doesn't apply to us and all like that, and say, yes, it does. Not only that, we're going to be the centerpiece of the Constitution. How about them apples? That black people are the centerpiece of the Constitution of the United States of and for America, Africa, and Asia. How about those apples? And testify in anybody's court that that's our aim. If we're going to be aiming for anything at all, to be just that and declare ourselves as being that. Because that's all people made. We the people. We've been told that. Don't oppose that. Grab it and own it. We are the people. All of us, and regardless of skin color or anything else, who are trying to produce a product, and this is an infantile start called justice, which means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. And that as a collective people who think in these, and we're just thinking in that ballpark, because we haven't done it yet, we consider ourselves we the people. The universal aspiring people, the conceptual people, because we're not human beings yet. Human beings don't kill each other, period. Doesn't make no difference what the so-called reason is. You don't have a reason. And we're saying that to both white people and non-white people and anything that's even resembling a person. People who are being yet produced, like under the umbrella, rainbow umbrella. People who are yet being created. So I've been told. But we already got people that are created. But they need to be the quality of people that they ought to be. And that will be universal man, universal woman. People who are absolutely flawless.
Yes.
That's what's so Neely Fuller's man.
That's very interesting because I have something that I'm going to read here. One of them was a Gmail, but this comes from the chat room. It's you ever heard of a book called The Lost Paradise, Mr. Fuller?
I may have, but I don't remember.
Let me read this.
I think I saw a movie about something like that, but I don't remember the book.
Okay. Anyway, Lost Paradise is an epic poem by the 17th century English poet John Milton. He lived from 1608 till 1674. The first version, published in 1667, consists of 10 books with over 10,000 lines of verse. It is considered to be Milton's masterpiece, and it helped solidify his reputation as one of the greatest English poets of all time. The poem concerns the biblical story of the fall of man, the temptation of Adam and Eve by the fallen angel Satan, and their expulsion from the garden. People who have great power were given means and ability to develop that power. If people who have great power use that power to mistreat people, they have, by so doing, destroyed their reason for having that power. It is then the duty of those who have been mistreated to persuade those powerful persons to stop misusing that power. It is the duty of the mistreated persons to cause these powerful persons to be separated from their power. In causing this separation from power, it is correct for the mistreated to use correct social force and or correct counter-violence. The correct purpose for producing, receiving, or sharing knowledge and or power, it is to reveal truth and to use truth in a manner that produces justice and correctness in order to produce justice. No people should do other than this. No people should be allowed to do other than this. United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. Mr. Fuller, in hearing that, which touches on justice, what do you think about what Milton wrote?
In other words, word for word, that's what Milton wrote. No, I want to get that straight. Does this come from John Milton? I've heard of him.
Yes.
Or does this come from the textbook for Victims of White Supremacy by Neely Fuller?
That last part, the people who have great power, came from that. It's right here at the bottom. I'm reading it. Yeah, it has. That's why I said the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. That last paragraph, or last two paragraphs. People
it looks like it's more than that.
Yeah.
It looks like a whole lot of more paragraphs or
yeah,
something.
well, it was. Yeah, those. Yeah, that was. Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was. There's some stuff in there about...
No, I haven't copied nothing from no John Milton.
No,
right?
not you. No, not you. No, you didn't do that. You didn't copy. The first part...
No, I'm saying those words sound like they're right out of the textbook.
Uh-huh.
I know what I wrote. I mean, to a great extent. I'm getting to the place now where my mind is decaying.
Right.
I don't remember all the things that I wrote, but that sounds like it's right out of the textbook for Victims of White Supremacy.
Okay.
And I know, I don't recall ever having read a word of anything that John Milton ever said. I've heard of John Milton, and he was a prolific, like Shakespeare, writer. But I don't remember ever reading anything or even seeing the movies. I may have, based on his books, because I think they made some movies based on John Milton's writing.
Okay, to be clear, that first paragraph that I read, The Lost Paradise is an epic poem by John Milton, and all that written down in there, and then at the last part, their expulsion from the Garden of Eden, that was him. That when it started off, when I came back in, the people who have great power, that came from you, or the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. Yeah, that came from you.
Okay, well, we just wanted to clear that up so that we don't have what?
Confusion. Well, we don't want confusion.
Yes, we don't want confusion.
Right. Okay.
And somebody will be saying, some English scholar somewhere in London or somewhere, be saying, hey, that's John Milton. I know John Milton. Hey.
No. Okay, well, we got that clear. That last part, starting with the people who have great power, were given the means. That's you. Yeah, that's the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. Okay. Yeah, that was powerful. That was powerful you wrote there. All righty. Let's do this. I see you, Corey, but let me read this since it came in here. This comes from a person who doesn't want their name mentioned. It says, please, no name mentioned. In Mr. Fuller's opinion, are those white supremacists who are in positions of power still human? It says, hi, I want to know if, in Mr. Fuller's opinion, if those who are in positions of power in the system of white supremacy are human, such as people who have hundreds of billions of dollars. The reason I'm asking this is that I just read online that the person who made Facebook, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, is worth $200 billion. And in my opinion and view, those such as the Zuckerbergs or Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, live perfect lives. And in my opinion, they are subhuman because, in my view, they became rich because of their privilege. He wants to know, what is your opinion of that?
Well, they are people, but if they've ever mistreated someone, that's not humane. See, we get our words straight and the definitions along with them. When you mistreat someone, you're not a humane person, which means you are not qualified to be a human being. Anytime you mistreat anyone, even, one child mistreating another child in the playroom. I mean, they're stacking blocks and one shoves the other one out of the way. And one starts crying and the other one starts laughing and whatnot. That's mistreatment, even among little infantile people. So they are not humane at that time that they're doing this, okay? Now, if it escalates and they're getting older to the point of one of them committing murder, now I'm not talking about some accident or something like that, but I'm saying deliberate killing of another person for an unjust reason. They weren't doing it to protect themselves or anything like that. That is definitely inhumane, and you are not a human being at all when you commit murder. And that implies to black people, white people, any other people. All that mess going on over there in what they call the Middle East, that's got murder written all over it. I mean, just on one thing alone, and that is newborn children being killed. Well, collateral damage. Oh, no. you're not nowhere near a human being and got nowhere near earning your keep even to breathe. Everybody involved in this. Murder, 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 murder. And say you got some kind of blank check to be breathing? You should get down on your cotton picking knees and stay there, looking up at the sky of whatever made you. Because you're not here to kill people. I don't care who you are. Murder people. That's what I mean. I'm talking about murder one.
Mm-hmm.
Willfully and deliberately killing somebody on account of you don't like something. There's no reason to kill somebody. You don't like it? What is it? Is it harming you? You know, if you're harming somebody and they're acting in self-defense, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you deliberately, and hey, you going to tell me that a newborn babe is harming you? That mafia-type thinking, well, he'll grow up to harm me. So we got a vendetta going on. That's gangster stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to kill babies. Gangsters do that. They shoot wildly in a crowd and all like that. You know.
Okay.
They call them other people, innocent bystanders. Well, collateral damage.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what they call it.
Collateral damage.
Mm-hmm.
A hospital full of children just born 2 days ago, and call yourself civilized? Nowhere near. Savage, if you're going to get into name calling, comes pretty close to a description of how you're acting.
All righty. Well, you answered his question. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a station break, and then we'll be back. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we thank you for doing that. To get in contact with the show, do so by calling 516-453-9921. Press the number 1 button if you have a question or comment. And if you're a first-time caller, be sure to give the person on the other end your name so that I can give you a proper introduction. You can also join the chat. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. And when you do that, you want to click on Programs, and the program you want is the Produce Justice Show. You click that on, and then the icon for the chat room, I believe, is to the right-hand side. You click that and you're in. Also, you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, @gmail.com. I will get your Gmail, and I will read it just as I just read this person's Gmail, and then we'll go from there. Now, I do have a stack of Gmails lined up, so you have to give it some patience. The book that Mr. Fuller is talking about is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept that you can get by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com, and you will receive your books. The logistics and other problems that we were having has now been resolved, so you should have no problem in getting that book done. Okay, or ordered. Okay, let's do this. Let's go to the phone calls, and let's go to Milwaukee, and that will be Corey. Corey, let me see if I can get you in here. Okay, Corey, got you in here. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, the name of the is it Social Security Corps that you came up with?
Yes, I call it the Universal Social Security Corps. And I was kind of thinking about the word Corps, all right? The Marine and code, okay? So the Marine Corps, for an example, I remember vaguely a made-for-TV movie called Tribes. It must be about 50 years old now, that movie. I haven't seen it surface recently. Darren McGavin played in it, I think, and one or two characters. I can't remember their names right now. But one character, a Marine sergeant, said near the end of the movie, he was talking to one of his fellow sergeants. They were both training Marines, and not in training. They were the trainers of recruits, and so they had been having a problem with one of the recruits. That's what the movie was about. But near the end of the movie, there was a line that you would expect typically from a Marine or someone in the Seabees, or not just the Seabees, the Navy branch of Navy SEALs, they call themselves. Right, okay. But he made this remark. He said, "You are saying that what I was doing was a personal thing." He said, "It wasn't a personal thing," just like the lines coming out of The Godfather would. He said, "Let me tell you something. I am a Marine." He said, "and everything that I do is for the Corps. Everything that I do is for the Corps, and don't you ever forget it." So I piggybacked off of that one, and I say, and I'm saying it right now to the whole world, the Universal Social Security Corps, coming from Neely Fuller Jr., because I made up this term, and everything that I think, say, and do is for the Corps. And that's the way I'm going to start expressing myself every now and then, all right? And of course, that's all within the envelope of two key words here: Social Security. Because a lot of people are speaking against Social Security. But I'm saying that the Constitution itself, we the people, and I've been recognized by some people as a person, have to have Social Security. And then I put some fiber in that soup. And what do I mean by that? I'm talking about these specifics. Everyone is what I'm saying. Everything, I do is for the Corps. It's for what I call those 4 must-haves. Must have health, correct health, stop eating this phony food and whatnot, and stop giving it to black people. I mean, surplus this and surplus that. Ain't supposed to be no such thing as hungry people in the world and you got surplus food. No, that doesn't add up. Okay, so everybody should have what you call a healthy meal. And when you got to really have that, all right, which you're not getting it even in fancy restaurants. The fanciest of restaurants, the people who are supposed to be top shelves and all like that, are not serving healthy food. We need to work on that. See, so what I'm saying about the Social Security Corps, all right, I'm putting meat on the bones now. I mean, depending on what kind of meat it is. Okay, the meat should be, for the most part, vegetables, maybe for all parts. But I'm talking about general health now. Health care for everyone who is listed as a being, a person, worldwide, 24/7, health care of all kinds, but an emphasis being on food. All right? Now, that's number one. Housing. All this squabbling about a roof over your head, even with the houses being swept away, and I think we're being sent a message with that. When people talking about floods and fires or whatnot, well, we'll rebuild, but we're being sent a message because before we even get the wreckage carried away, what is happening right now in the year 2024, and there's nothing to gloat about and all like that. You help everybody who needs help the most, and everybody whose house is being swept away needs help. Okay? And some people, I suspect, are kind of arrogant about it. Well, no big deal, I'll rebuild again. But they're saying, wait a minute, are you going to be arrogant about it? Say, we send you a message when we send you a flood or a fire. Now, if you don't get that message before you even start rebuilding, we're going to send you another message. Mm-hmm. And then maybe another one. And then maybe another one. And then you might get this idea out of your head about what you are going to do, because it looks like you're defying your maker. And you can get away with doing that to black people. You ain't getting away with the chief. And maybe I have to keep sending you a message every day. You start rebuilding, putting one brick on top of another, but the next thing you know, you'll be scrambling out of the way because here comes another hit. Because whatever created, and I'm not supposed to be preaching, but I'm just indicating there's got to be a reason for that. Mm-hmm. And people ought to think about it. Okay. How is it my house got swept away? Now, that's twice in the last 5 years. And I started clearing away the wreckage and talking about rebuilding to the press. And at the same time, that radio was saying, hey, here comes another one. Are you being sent a message? And what message is being sent? You might be mistreating someone from getting what? A house.
A house.
When you are getting a house for somebody else, you're mistreating them by undervaluing and redlining the house that they have.
Yeah.
Don't mistreat anybody.
Yeah, okay.
We're not here to mistreat people. Mm-hmm. Now, there's Fuller again, sounding like he's preaching, but I was taught that too.
Okay. Let's see here. Corey, did that answer your question?
Yes, and can I ask you one more question, Mr. Fuller?
Did I answer that question?
Yes, you answered that.
We're all supposed to be now in the universal Social Security Corps, because we've already been taught that. When they said we the people, somebody said it, and then they made us people. Oh, we grab hold of that. We don't push back. Mm-hmm. And that's another thing I want black people to understand. Don't keep talking about the United States of America is harming anybody. It's not true. Americans are yet to be. They don't exist. And, and if anybody doesn't understand that, well, see, I wouldn't be saying that if I am a timid person. I wouldn't be saying that if I couldn't go into court and prove it.
All right.
And prove it. I'll walk in anybody's court right now and start my proof case.
Okay.
So, Mr. Fuller.
Go ahead, Corey.
So, Mr. Fuller, expounding on what you just said, I'm asking, with your permission, because I'm currently in a case with the Social Security Administration, this false one that is not mindful of anyone's Social Security. I'm in a court case pending with them because I've been asking them for help for years, according to the code, and their response is that I don't meet the requirements for help. And to just cut right to it, they said, unless I'm diagnosed to die within the year, because I have a chronic incurable disease, which puts me at dis-ease. Yes, Mr. Fuller. So can I use, with your permission, because I believe in that we need a universal Social Security Corps, and I believe that this is a group of people that are producing justice. Can I use that?
You don't. That's why I'm telling you, you're already a member of the Corps. It's just been invented. So those are just words that I invented, Neely Fuller invented, but you don't have to use that as get my permission. You're already a member of the Social Security Corps because they told you this. They meaning those people that wrote the Constitution before you were born, I'm sure. Right. We the people.
Yes.
So you say, I am a person. I'm entitled to Social Security. It says so in the Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller.
Yeah. In order to have Social Security, you got to have health. You have to have housing. You have to have education. And you have to have transportation.
Okay.
Now, that is Social Security. Those four things, according to what? The evidence. Not Neely Fuller or nobody else. Not Benjamin Franklin. It says so in the Constitution. You're entitled to it.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Corey. Thank you for your call. Very, very interesting. All right, let's go down into Texas. And, Delbert, thank you for waiting patiently. Delbert, you are on with Mr. Fuller. Good. Wait a minute. There you go. Good morning, Delbert.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I hear you.
I think Milton wrote the book Paradise Lost.
Yes. Yes, that's what I remember, but I never read it. I'll get that straight first.
Yeah, okay. Yes, sir. Go ahead, Milton. Excuse me. Go ahead, Delbert.
I have a question about, and I was wanting to know, was Sheila Jackson Lee foolish to submit a bill to outlaw white supremacy in the U.S. Congress?
The code does not allow me to criticize anything that a black female says or does. I am obligated, according to the code, to blame the white supremacists for anything that a black female, more than anybody, ever does about anything. I'm just not qualified, even though I might bite my tongue and grit my teeth, and many of us black males do. The code says, well, bite your tongue and grit your teeth, because we, more than anybody on the planet, black males, criticize black females, and we know what they have been through and are still going through, we're not qualified. See, we dropped the ball. All right. So therefore, we but there is somebody to blame, and that is the usual suspects, the white supremacists. So if Miss Sheila Jackson Lee said anything sitting up there, it could be the most insane thing that anybody ever heard anybody do. I, as a black male, cannot criticize it, and if anybody asks me about it, like I'm being asked about it now, I say, well, that's the white supremacist to blame for what she said. If there's any blame to be placed anywhere, it's on racist man and racist woman. End of story. If we're talking about blame, Miss Sheila Jackson Lee is not to blame for anything that she does or says. Correct or incorrect?
Go ahead,
But what she has been through.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Fuller, I think she did the right thing by addressing that issue in Congress, and I was dismayed that it wasn't successful.
Oh, well, don't be surprised at anything that, that's supposed to work and that a black person is trying to do to produce justice, and directly or indirectly, the white supremacists turn it down, and it's supposed to produce justice. Well, hey, business as usual. We're fighting white supremacy. So that's where the blame goes.
All right, Delbert, thank you so much. Haven't heard from you for a long time. Okay, let's do this. I don't know your name here, but we're going to get you in here anyway. Good morning. I don't know your name, so pardon me for that. You're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, because I don't have your name up here on the screen, so, yeah.
So my name is Delvon, and I'm from Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask Mr. Fuller a question. My question is, why is it so easy for non-white people to accept the blame to blame each other, but why is it hard for non-white people to blame white supremacy?
Because we've been trained that way. That's why I wrote my book. We need to be, start thinking, and it's not because I know everything that I ought to know, but I know some things I've learned, and that is what I wrote just right off the bat. If the person hasn't been introduced to anything that I wrote or said, just look at the back of the book. And I give my whole story right there. I say I'm a victim. I'm a servant to the system of white supremacy. That's all I've ever been. That's the only title that I have earned right up to today. And I've been here quite a while. But I don't have a title other than victim of white supremacy that counts. So therefore, I say for one thing, I'm not supposed to be a victim of no kind of injustice, and the system of racism, mistreating people on the basis of color, is totally unjust. The color of the skin, not the color of the car you drive, the color of the skin. Something that was given to you by the Creator, like your liver and your kidneys, and your ear, and your eyeball. The eyes that's a wonderful creation for anybody. The eyes are very small. But think about what it is for people that don't have eyesight. They have something that resembles what should give off what they call eyesight, but the person might have been born this way. There are people who can tell you about it because there are people that you probably know who were born without eyesight. The eye is a wonderful thing to have. People travel all over the world to do what? Sightseeing. But what about the person who was born without that? We kind of take it for granted. We take it for granted for Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles. Why? And we go to see them when Ray Charles was around. But we don't think about them not being able to see. But they perform. They do the best that they can. They compensate. All right?
Okay, now can I ask another question, please?
Yeah, go ahead, Delvin, quickly.
Okay, my other question is, okay, so you describe white supremacy as being mistreated on the basis of color.
They mistreat people. That's what a white supremacist does.
Right, on the basis of color.
Skin color.
Skin color.
See, we narrow it to that. I mean, they don't mistreat you on account of your kidneys. They don't mistreat you on account of your liver. They don't mistreat you on account of he's got eyesight, so I got to take his eyesight away.
Okay.
No, they just look at your skin color and say, now there is a creature that I can mistreat.
Okay.
And everybody will clap and call me a hero.
Okay. So what do you call when non-white people mistreat other non-white people?
You call those people victims of white supremacy. In answer to your question, according to the code and logic. That's what you call them.
Okay. That's my question.
All righty. All right, thank you, Delvin from Tampa. Thank you. Going back to Delbert's question that he answered about the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, information was gathered here that Sheila Jackson Lee was pushing for Congress, Mr. Fuller, to add more protection against hate crimes inspired by white supremacy. The, quote, Leading Against White Supremacy Act, or LAWS, LAWS of 2023, was presented to Congress this month. But the bill faced a lot of criticisms. The LAWS Act intended to prevent and persecute white supremacy-inspired hate crimes and conspiracy to commit white supremacy-inspired hate crimes, and to amend Title 18 to expand the scope of hate crimes. Several conservative lawmakers have criticized Jackson Lee on the language of the bill and said it violates freedom of speech. She said it is her attempt to help prevent hate crimes like the shootings in Buffalo, New York, and in El Paso from beginning. Quoting her, as a legislator, I have worked to do what's best for America and how to keep America safe, end of quote. Lee represents the 18th district in Houston, which is predominantly minority district. She said within the past week, hate crimes have been found within the Houston neighborhood, including in her district. We have found hateful bags, hateful information in Mission Bend. We have found it in Northwest Houston, anti-Semitic materials. We have found hateful materials in Montrose and in the Heights in my district. Jackson Lee said there has been a lot of misinformation about her bill that could provoke people to anger. She said her bill doesn't violate the First Amendment. But she's
comes under, according to the code, BGQ. See, that's why we need a code. And that means she said what she said, so people just examine what she said and see if it produces what? Constructive results. That's the only criteria for everybody in the whole world. When anybody says or does anything, did it produce a constructive result? Now you might have a whole lot of questions after that, if it did.
Well, yes, because, see, she had evidence of what she was saying about in her district and all around her, the things that were going on, and she said that her bill was to cut down on that stuff, or actually to eliminate it. But some people, she didn't name who, in Congress said that her language of what she was talking about was too strong and violated the First Amendment.
Well, then you look at what she said, and then you go back and forth with that and see what. It's just one criteria for everybody. Maybe they have to try it and see if it produces what? Constructive results. So you're not arguing with the person. You're following the logic.
It looks like she couldn't get out of the starting blocks because whoever made these statements to her about her language, saying that it was too harsh or hateful, it really didn't have a chance to be heard to be heard so that it could produce a result, because they killed it. They said her language was violated.
All of this is down the road, all right, because we never got to that point, okay, and we haven't got to that point even in her absence, okay. So until somebody just says, well, we'll re-examine what she said, and let's try it. So that's it.
Now, do you realistically think, like Mr. Fuller, that they're going to actually do that? You really think that?
But it doesn't matter. It takes care of itself.
But when I'm saying, how can that get started to address that when they killed it from the beginning, saying that she was in violation of the First Amendment?
Well, if somebody wants to carry it on, just carry it on. That's all. That's what you call the law of compensation. That's what DGQ is about. See, I'm like Neely Full right now. Neely Full. I'm doing what I'm doing. Why?
Yeah.
Because I got something, we the people, called freedom of speech. So I'll just give my opinion of all of this, just like everybody else. And so if a bunch of people want to try it, or they nix it forever, or whichever way it goes.
Okay.
Just because Mr. Lee is not here doesn't mean that somebody else, under the law of compensation, just do what? Keep it going.
Okay, I understand. But let me ask you this, using the example. You use a lot of examples. Okay, here, you see an area that you would like to walk to, and you've made up in your mind, got all your documents or whatever you need, materials to do this. But before you can do it, before you can build it, somebody is telling you that you can't do it. You're in violation of some code. In other words, you can't get started. So how are you going to do that?
Like Memphis Slim said, if I have to give that illustration again, as you go through life, you can't help knowing you can always get help, but only the way you're going. See, in other words, be persistent. Just keep on keeping on. What do you think made Martin Luther King tick? Malcolm X, Fannie Lou Hamer, Sojourner Truth, Rosa Parks. Just keep on keeping on. Well, it ain't going to work, and okay, y'all keep talking. I'm going to keep walking. All right.
Yeah,
how about them apples?
But with the example I used, before they could even take a step,
it doesn't make any difference. Before you even take a step, you can't take a step until what? Until you get a step. And then when you take that step, you take it. And don't make no difference how long it takes. End of the frame says, hey, you know
okay.
What?
We're going to end this right here.
Yes, sir.
The first hour.
I think maybe somebody might have gotten something constructive out of this, but keep that in mind.
Okay, well, let me get to the second hour.
That's the essence of the code. You keep going.
Okay, let me get to the second hour. Thank you all for listening to the first hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller. So if you got to go, have a good week. Do what you can. But those of you who are going to be around for the second hour, stick and stay. We will be right back in about 5 seconds. All right. Welcome back to the second hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And we thank you for listening or for tuning in. Here's the contact number that you can call, 516-453-9921. That's the number you call to get in contact with the show. And please, ma'am, please, sir, be sure to give the person on the other end your name so that I can give you a proper introduction, and then you can ask your questions. And please, ma'am, please, sir, be brief, although we are allowing 2 questions today. But anyway, be brief in those so that we can get to the point and have Mr. Fuller address whatever your concern is. Now, you can also go to the chat room, which is, you can obtain that by going to blogtalkradio.com. When you do that, you want to click on program. Get the program menu, and the program or the show that you want is the Produce Justice Show. You click on the Produce Justice Show, and then an icon becomes available for you to enter into the chat room, which you can. And you can go from there in the chat room. And lastly, you can Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, at gmail.com. And I will get your Gmail and read it when the time is appropriate to read, and we'll go from there. In fact, I have a few to read now, but we'll do that. Now, the books that Mr. Fuller, we've been talking about, are referencing today, is the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept that you can get by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com. And all the logistics and any problem that you were having getting the books have been resolved. So you can now get the book. Now, the brother in South Africa, that has written me several times about that. I don't know if the book is down there. I know you're having some problems down there. I understand that they did confiscate your copy of it. So I don't know what methods that you would use to obtain that, but keep on trying, I guess. Whatever Malcolm say, the quote, by any means necessary, and I heard he got that from somebody else. But by any means necessary, keep on keeping on to try and obtain your copy of the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept worldwide. Okay. All righty. Let's see here. Okay. Let me take this call here. Let's go to Darnell. Darnell in Milwaukee. Wait a minute, Darnell. See if I can get you in here. Okay, Darnell, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Happy belated birthday, sir. Mr. Fuller, 95 Earth years. Boy, that's a lot of time. But what I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller, he always stresses to us that, to solve problems, it's the process of, questions and answers. So when he developed his the best poorly written book, as he says, which I think is the best book ever, how many questions did you actually ask, Mr. Fuller? Because when I delve into your book, I'm like, he has to at least ask billions of questions. I mean, that's a big number, but I was just curious, the questions and answers, that process when you developed the code book, sir.
Your question is, how did I develop that?
Yes, and like how many questions did you have to ask yourself? Because that code book is like a schematic of white supremacy. So to start that process, I mean, I can just sit here and think myself, like there had to have been millions of questions you had to ask yourself to develop the code book.
Well, I'm still in the process because the book is like someone asked me, well, is this the whole code? Because you got 3 volumes here, and I have told people for years, there's no such thing as a whole code until what? Until all problems are solved. That's the code philosophy. And how do you solve problems? Questions and answers. Now, it took me a long time to figure that out, that all problems are solved through questions and answers. It just came to me by finally just waking up what I was looking at, because we're looking at things all the time. It's like Confucius said. I don't know when he said it, but this is a quote that I just recently heard, but it sticks in my mind because it says it all. Life is simple. Men make it complicated. Now, that's allegedly something that came from Confucius, all right? But, hey, it stuck with me, just those simple words. They've been there all these years. I just heard that he said that just about 5 months ago. But it stuck with me, just that simple. And that's the whole essence of everything, Shakespeare and everybody else. That sums it up. Life is simple, real simple. We're looking at the solutions to things all the time, and we don't recognize that they are solutions. We don't slow down enough. And then, but there are reasons for it. We'll run till, we're out of breath going nowhere. On the move. Because we've been held down so long. Like breaking out of prison, where you were born. And you're just on the run. And the prison masters keep you on the run. But, you're trying to think on the runs. Sometimes you just have to sit down and think. But they don't let you do that. And so even when you don't have to run, you're running. And you're not trying to think while you're running. A lot of people can. And that's really what you have to learn to do.
This is the First Amendment.
All right. In fact, you have to learn to think under any circumstance according to the code, because we are taught systematically, if you're black, you're not supposed to think about anything. All thinking is supposed to be left to white people. And because we have been taught to be lazy about that when it comes to thinking, now we're not lazy when it comes to moving. And it's something we want to move about. We prove that when we dance and all like that. We're not lazy at all. You can't break dance and be lazy. But when it comes to thinking, oh, man, we have been taught systematically. Now, you're black. You got black skin. You're not supposed to think at all. You don't have a brain. That's what we tell the world, for those who don't already know. If you're black, you have no brain. All the brainy stuff is left to white folks. You got that, boy, gal? Now, go skipping down the yellow brick road, but don't do no thinking.
Okay. Okay, did that answer your question, Darnell?
Yeah, it sure did. I just want to add a quick VGQ. Mr. Fuller always has a lot of profound statements that he made, and out of many, and the one that I was thinking about just now is that white supremacy plays both sides of the argument. So during this election season, I think we can see the confusion with that statement of white supremacy playing both sides of the aisle or both sides of the argument. You got the Republicans, you got the Democrats. A lot of black folks think that Democrats are not racist in a sense. They think it's just the Republicans, and now we're in this circular confusion of voting, and they demonize Donald Trump. However, when you look back at Joe Biden's record, he kind of has a segregationist kind of background, but it seems like a lot of us don't pay attention to that. So it's just this confusion, and then with Kamala, is she black? Is she Indian? And it's just all this confusion. That's just what I have observed.
Okay. All righty. Thank you, Darnell from Milwaukee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Have a good day.
All righty.
Yes, sir.
All righty. 516-453-9921 is the contact number. Let me read this. This is from Justice Warrior. It says this: happy 95th birthday, Mr. Fuller. Don't make light of it, because most of your contemporaries didn't make it to this point, and here you are still here feeding us wisdom, just like someone else whose birthday is around the same time as yours. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the nation celebrated Jimmy Carter turning 100 last week, and we celebrate you getting to where you are, because you weren't just someone who was here breathing and nothing more. Your contributions, Mr. Fuller, are immeasurable to the contribution of the advancement and development of Black America and beyond. Never underestimate that. That came from Justice Warrior to you, Mr. Fuller. Okay. Been a lot of things on Sheila Jackson Lee. For those of you who don't know what the First Amendment says, it says this. I believe this is in brevity, but it says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So somewhere down the line, and of course they have some cases right here that support that statement, that you could, this came from the Cornell Law School, and you could read that if you want to, but there's a list of different things on here. It's quite extensive, on the right to petition that. So somehow somebody, they didn't mention who, said that her language was strong or divisive or whatever it was. I don't know. But anyway, be that as it may, that's what you have in this system. Okay, let's go to the Gmail here. Let's say, please, no name mentioned. It says this: hi, Mr. Fuller. I want to know, in Mr. Fuller's opinion, if the system of white supremacy cares who they decide to get mad at when a closet racist comes out. An example is when the actor Michael Richards came out with the N-word. I remember around the time the only reason he was outed was because it was caught on camera. I have also read online that, for example, a pop group of all white males named NSYNC, I guess NSYNC, NSYNC, made racist comments toward a black person that worked for them. But in my opinion, in my opinion, because it wasn't caught on camera, white supremacy didn't make a big deal about it. He wanted to know your opinion of that, Mr. Fuller.
Well, it's a word, and it's how you react to it. So, whatever reaction you have, that's the reaction you have. I've been around people that use the word. I worked with some of them and kept working with them, all right? But when it was said in my presence, I didn't say anything. Every time I've heard it, if I recall, yes, I didn't say that was. They say, well, what was my reaction? My reaction was I didn't say anything. Okay, nor did I do anything. In most cases, I didn't even pass on that I heard it to other black people. I didn't pass on that I had heard someone say this who was white. In my presence, it said it. Now, that's been Neely Fuller's reaction. They didn't call me that directly, but they were, I think in both cases, they were talking about, one case they were talking about a geographic area. And the person said, oh, that's that N-word section of the town. It was one white person talking to another in my presence. And they were specifying the black section of town. And he called it that GER section. Okay? And I was standing right there. And they suddenly realized that I was standing there and I heard it. And both of them cut off their conversation and frankly ran out of the room. In one instance, they said, "Oh my God, I slipped up." I mean, that was a picture that I got, and this is on a job, and I said that N-word. Now they're gonna blow that all up, and I'm gonna lose my job, and I don't know what the person was thinking, but they both ran out of the room. Both of the white people who were having that conversation. And that word came out in the conversation they were having with each other. That was their reaction to the word that one of them introduced into the conversation. My reaction was like stone, because that's just been my reaction to the use of that word. And I wasn't even deep into the code then, but I got it into the code book. That when that word does come up, it does apply to me, because if anybody asks me, am I what that word is, I will say absolutely, because to me it means one thing: victim of white supremacy. And I say, I've been telling you all that all the time. That would be my reaction if somebody asked me right now. I mean, a white person. Are you, Neely Fuller, are you that GER word? N-GER word. Are you that? Yes, sir. Any other questions? That would be my reaction right this minute. Because, see, I know what it is. That's all it is. Victim of white supremacy. If you think about it, it's never had a definition. That's why people get mad about it. The minute you give it a definition, it loses its power. I discovered that. So I gave it a definition because I didn't, it is a powerful word. But if you're reacting to a word that you don't know what the word means, you'll keep reacting. And you don't know how you'll react. It'll be all over the place. See, I know how I react because I gave it the essence of what I followed the logic. What does that word mean? When I was in the military, they call it what? The magic word. Because it means people will start throwing things and cursing and shouting and fighting and whatnot. I say, wait a minute. It's a word. What does it mean to you, Fuller? And so I thought logically, hey, the only thing it can mean that would mean anything at all, victim of white supremacy. No victim of white supremacy, then you got no injure word. It doesn't mean anything without a victim. Yeah. Logically speaking. That's if you're going to think logically. And I do my best every minute of every day to think logically. Like, at last, I'm doing it now right here on this program. I'm thinking logically. And you know when you think logically, you talk in a way that you're not preaching. And for the first time on this program this morning, Neely Fuller's not preaching.
You think?
No, I'm not preaching. Because, see, people really don't listen to preachers. That's why, the preacher that talks eventually will have the most intelligent audience. All right? When a preacher starts what you call preaching, he's just stomping around, foaming at the mouth. And a lot of people like that, but they're not learning nothing. All right? They're getting a good high, but just like any, becomes a drug. See, when everything is about hand clapping and foot stomping, but no words being spoken that anybody can understand.
Okay. Let me go to this Gmail here. This is from Ray. He says this, Mr. Fuller, is Christ an example of universal man? Why or why not? If not, are there any prototypes of universal man?
If who?
Prototypes.
Yeah, but I'm saying if who is an example.
He says,
not an example.
He says, is Christ an example?
Christ. You're talking about Jesus Christ.
I'm just reading it. He says, is
correct?
Christ.
He says Christ.
Yeah, he said Christ.
Okay, so it's a question. Is an example
of universal
what?
Man. Universal
I don't
man.
know. I don't know. See, that's what I mean by people doing their own thinking. See, I don't know. An example of a universal man is that he's a problem solver, so could be, but I have to say I don't know because I don't know everything that if they say Christ, they're talking about a person, and presumably they're talking about someone called Jesus that was given the title of the Christ after he was hung on a cross. So some scholars have told me that the person called Jesus was given the title of Christ after he died. But people act, I'm quite sure there are a whole lot of arguments back and forth between people about that. And I don't know about that because I wasn't there. But people have been arguing about who the person called Jesus the Christ really was or really wasn't, and how many attributes that he had or didn't have or shortcomings, if there were any, what he was here for, and some people saying whether or not he ever existed. See, but I just simply say, I don't know.
Okay.
Because I don't. I don't know that much about the person called Christ. I don't know that much to make a judgment about Christ of any kind, except I've heard there was a person called that has continued today and had a whole lot of influence, probably more than anybody ever heard of.
Okay. From the Gmail on a revisit, let's see, Nanziel asked this question. This is on the revisit. He said that Mr. Fuller has said that for something to be codified, it has to work each and every time. And if it does not work even once, then it is no longer a code. Well, Sonia Massey, killed recently by a race soldier, and several other black people throughout history who did not fight, fuss, and or flee, were still executed. Mr. Fuller, would this still apply the word code to this particular approach, or should it be changed to attempted code?
Yeah, no, it's not an attempted code. That's a code, because it's the only thing you can do that makes sense. See, the code is just about making sense, being logical.
What do you mean?
Following the logic that's been given to you. I mean, the logic means the best thing that you can do with the circumstances that you have.
Okay, well, these people followed the logic. They didn't fuss, they didn't fight, they didn't flee, and yet they were killed.
Yes.
Following the code.
That's the logic. Yes, but they did. See, logic is you do the best you can. It's like if you trip and fall. I mean, you're a steel worker, okay? Steel workers, what? They work on tall buildings and whatnot. All right. So you're there walking out on one of those beams, and suddenly a gust of wind comes along. Now, you didn't notice that gust of wind was coming along. But you
knew it was a possibility that it could.
You knew that was when you walked out on that girder, because
Exactly.
You've been doing it for 40 years.
Exactly.
All right? And you were getting ready to go to lunch, because you have your lunch sitting out there on that girder. I mean, looking down, and the cars look like ants. Something I couldn't do without falling. All right? Neely Fuller couldn't do that right now. Man, you talk about needing help. I ain't moving. I ain't gonna try to stand up on that girder and walk back. I don't know how I got there, but I know I ain't walking back on this girder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Looking down at cars that look like ants, and I got to put one foot in the other, and if I make any kind of misstep one way or another, and the wind blows, oh my goodness, I'm gone.
Okay. Now let's bring that back in.
But there are people who do that every day.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Or every day. And sometimes, like I said, they couldn't predict that gust of wind. And it just suddenly comes out of nowhere. And that person goes into space.
Okay.
And that person on the way down knows, hey, I'm not going to lunch.
Okay.
I'm not going to have supper today.
Okay.
Let's
bring that.
Let's
bring that back in to his question there. What does that have to do with them following the logic and still was killed?
It has to do with you following the logic, because you did the best that you can do with what you knew.
Okay.
So you don't know that person is not going to shoot you. He's going to shoot you because he set out to shoot you before he even knew you or encountered you. All right? Already had it in mind. I'm going to kill one of those injures.
Right.
Today. Because I'm not going to take that whipping I took last week from one of them trying to make an arrest. And he practically broke my jaw in the process. And they told me I was still fit for duty. So I'm going to kill the first one I encounter.
Okay.
All right? So your death warrant is that he pulled you over. But you didn't know that.
You didn't know that. Okay.
But
All
you
right.
are in a death camp.
Yeah.
You were born in one.
Okay.
So you look at it just that way.
Now that I understand. With that, let's take a break here. You are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we thank you. Contact number is 516-453-9921. When you get that, just give the call person your name so that I can hopefully give you a proper introduction. You can also join the chat room, blogtalkradio.com. blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on where it says the program menu. Yeah, programs. You click on the programs and you want the Produce Justice Show. The Produce Justice Show. And then when you do that, then the chat room becomes available for you to enter in if you would like to do that. And lastly, you can Gmail me, as I've been reading a few of the backlog Gmails. The email Gmail address is the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, @gmail.com. I will get it, and then at a certain date when the time is appropriate, I will read it and have Mr. Fuller respond to it. The books that we've been talking about is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, which you can get at producejustice.com. All of the problems have been worked out logistically, and you should have your book when you ordered it. If you ordered it and you're sitting on a refund, you can either cash your refund or turn it back in to reorder your books, and that is done also. Every possible thing that I know of has been worked out so that you may or can get that book if you so desire. And you might want to think about it, maybe get that book for somebody else, even though we just discovered that people really don't listen. I don't think they read either. But anyway, you can do that. ProduceJustice.com. ProduceJustice.com. Okay, let's do this one here. Gary, I'm going to hold off on your question because we got Ray. 2 questions, Ray from Dallas. Ray, let me move this over here and see if I can get to you. Okay, Ray, wait a minute. There we go. Ray, good morning.
Good morning, sir. This is my second question. You just read my first one.
Okay.
Mr. Fuller, thank you, sir. Mr. Fuller, under your suggestion and under the suggestion of victim of racism known as body image, I've begun to start to decode the Bible. And 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7 says, "For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Earlier in the broadcast today, you made the statement that you were a timid person. And so my question is, how can the system of white supremacy be effectively countered if we operate under the spirit of timidity?
Because I'm in a death camp. And I realize that. I can be killed any moment deliberately by a white supremacist who says, "I don't approve of you moving around with that skin color in my universe and I am going to kill you today, Neely Fuller. Why? Because I most likely can get away with it. It would be easy. I have ways of doing it. Okay? And I realize that. So that makes me timid. I mean, I'm in a death camp. I was born in it. I haven't been out of it for 5 minutes. I've never been not under the system of white supremacy. The only government I've ever known. I've never known the American government. Never. Not for 5 seconds. I've seen situations that resembled it, and that's a blessing. Like I'm still breathing, for one. Okay? The white supremacists allow me to breathe. And they say, well, your Creator gave you breath, and the Creator will take it away when the Creator decides you're going. And you're not going before then. I said, yes, I understand that, but I also understand that I am in a death camp, that I was born in it, and that the Creator probably has spared me with my ignorant self to realize where I am and to make a little bit of effort to do something about it. And maybe, I don't know, that's why I'm still here. And according to these statistics, at the end of next year, I'm not supposed to be here. Now, somebody told me that this year, because I just turned 95, and they said, now, according to the averages, at the end of next year, you are not supposed to be here, Neely Fuller. At the end of the year, when you're 96, I'm 95 now, you're not supposed to be here according to the averages. The average person who is in their 90s doesn't get past 96. So I've been told. So, there I have it. I hope I make it longer, because why do I want to be here longer? Well, I'm given this gift, so I hold on to it as long as I can. It's called so-called life, all right? And I try to make it count belatedly, because I wasted about half of it. That's the truth of that matter. You talking about waste. My goodness. I think of all this time I've been given, and I've done so little. For one thing, I haven't solved the race problem, because when I set out writing these books, it didn't take long for me to say, what am I writing them for? To make a contribution, because I kept hearing that slang term, and I grew to loathe that term. I don't like that term, making a contribution. I say, hey, there's a race problem. Neely Fuller, solve it. And if you don't solve it, you wasted all of the time that your Creator gave you. And that's the way I look at it right this minute. That if I leave this earth without solving the race problem, I'm not talking about making no contribution. That's cheap. With all this time I've been given, when people like Martin Luther King and Malcolm and whatnot didn't get to age 40. So I don't know how long Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman made it and whatnot, but they didn't make it as far as I've made it. And this problem has been around. And look at And like the time that I wasted and the time that I'm supposed to be doing better than I'm doing now, for sure. And certainly by the time that I'm in my grave, Neely Fuller should have solved this race problem. John Kennedy started talking about going to the moon almost as a joke. But then he woke up one morning and said, you know what? The moon has been there like forever. And people have been writing songs about it and all like that. He said, you know what? I'm going to see to it that maybe not me personally, but I'm going to start the wheels are turning, that somebody with me turning these wheels is going to get there. And they're going to do it within this decade. John Kennedy said that. And you know what? After millions of years, people building pyramids trying to reach it and all like that, and couldn't on account of it was still out of reach, trying to reach the moon, because sometimes it looks like it was so close you could reach out and touch it. That's the mind of the primitive person. But John Kennedy, almost as an afterthought, said, you know what? People have been talking about that moon like for zillions of years, I guess. But we're going to do it in the next 10 years. And you know what? They did it.
They did it. Okay. All righty. Ray, let's see here. Was that answer your question, Ray? There you go. Did that answer your question, Ray?
Yes, sir, it did. Thank you, Mr.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it. All right. That's my man. 2 questions, Ray. Let's see here. Let me do this. Here's a question from Gary. Okay, Gary, here we go with your question. He says this, Mr. Fuller. He says, if a black person becomes president, do they actually have any power?
You'll know that until white supremacy is no longer the center of the power. So no black person has the power to do anything except commit homicide. Of him or herself or itself or somebody else. But as far as it's called, this normal government, no such thing as a black person with governmental power in the system of white supremacy. Not one. You have one government according to the code and according to logic, which is what the code is based on. And that is somebody who is a white supremacist. That's what you mean by supreme being, all right, here on earth. Now, there is a power higher than that and greater than that, and that is the creator of everything that you ever seen or heard about. Now, that is the creator, known by Allah, the Great One, the Great Spirit, God, has different names, but a creator creates. People don't create anything, no person. There isn't a person anywhere that creates anything. Sometimes artists will say, this is one of my creations. You didn't create that. Why? What did you do? You arranged what was already created. You arranged. If someone hadn't made that canvas, you wouldn't have been a creator. A maker. Wait a minute. Producer. See, you can produce, like I'm trying to produce justice. But the concept of justice has never been done. But there is a creator of the concept even. Otherwise, you couldn't have it, guaranteeing that a person is not mistreated. That's a concept. Okay. No one has ever produced justice. Not saying anything about creating it.
Mm-hmm.
It was created as a concept. It's two different things.
Okay.
A concept is something that you're trying to do, but it's never been done. A creation is something that you have to be a creator. You have to make something out of nothing, but you first have to make what? You have to make the nothing to put something in. So it goes beyond even comprehension for, at least so far, a person's mind.
Okay. All righty. Deep. Okay. Mary Tahiti. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Mary, thank you for the Gmail. Here's another question for you, Mr. Fuller. It says here, why do some non-white peoples from other countries engaged in white supremacist activities with white supremacists, even though the whites will turn against them eventually?
On account of white supremacy. See, when we say white supremacy, we think about 6 white men in a station wagon with a whole lot of Confederate flags and shouting the N-word to the top of their voices. That's how a lot of black people have been trained to think of white supremacy. White supremacy is a world government that controls every move that a black person makes, directly or indirectly. And that's why I say what? At the beginning of each program, if you don't understand white supremacy, you really don't understand anything. Because they have trained us to only understand what they want us to understand. We've been trained, but we don't know that. We think black people just, hey, this is my thing. Examine your so-called thing. I'm a gangster. Oh, yeah? Where'd you get that? That's a common question. All questions have answers. Oh, you're a gangster. Where did you get that? Oh, I'm an original gangster. I'm a gangster on my own. Where did you first hear the word gangster? Did you ever ask yourself that?
Okay. Good question.
Yeah. The person who says I'm the original gangster. Where did you ever first hear the word original and the word gangster? Did that come from you originally? Have you ever thought about that, Mr. Super Time Thinker? Got everything all figured out in your drill, in your cell at Attica. Got it all figured out. Yeah, you ain't even begin to think. Talking about figuring something out. What are you doing sitting there in that cell? You got it all figured out.
Got it all figured out. Okay.
That's a giveaway right there. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting there in no cell. You got it all figured out.
Speaking about getting it all figured out, have you updated your movie list? And I'll say that in particular because one of our loyal listeners, Jane, was mentioning the movie called Rebel Ridge, which I'm, I told her that I would check that out. Have you updated your movie list or any new movies?
No, and I'm not going to.
You're not going to. Okay.
No, I'd be adding movies into infinity, because all of the movies, every corny movie I've ever seen, has in it some type of lesson. Even if the lesson is, this movie was made by somebody.
Yeah.
I learned that.
Okay.
I gave my money out there at that box office, but I didn't get nothing out of this movie, except I didn't get nothing out of this movie. And that's the lesson.
I actually understand that logic. Okay, so no updated movie list. Let's go to Douglas. Douglas C. from Pennsylvania. Douglas, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Hey, good morning, Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. I just had one
sir.
quick VGQ and a question. My VGQ is a female named Miss D from my support unit. Wanted me to tell y'all that she said hi. And my question is, Mr. Fuller, so everybody don't be confused, could you please tell everybody, according to counter-racist logic, what are the 3 classifications of people on planet Earth? Thank you.
White, non-white, and white supremacists. And in order to be eligible to be a white supremacist, you have to, first of all, be classified as white. And the white supremacists, being supremacists over people who are non-white, who they say are non-white, decide who is white and who is not, because they have the power to do so. So the white supremacists say, you're white today, Mr. Spinoza, which some people identify as a so-called Hispanic name, but the word Hispanic doesn't have anything to do with color, all right? Or maybe it does have something to do with color. Depends on what the white supremacist says it has, all right? See, so black people shouldn't be trying to figure out that. You have to have somebody, first of all, who's white, because you've got to be white in order to determine who's going to be white and non-white. And the white supremacists are the ones who make that determination.
Okay. All right.
That's what you mean by being supreme. Nobody overrules me except the creator of us all. And the white supremacists, even in their arrogance, they admit that. They say, we are not the creators of this universe. We're not the creators of anything. But we produce the idea of being supreme for the people of this planet. And that we will be supreme, people who are white, and we classify as white, will be over people who we classify as non-white as being subject to us. And so they call that white supremacy. They bragged about it for centuries, thousands of years, some say, at least 2,000, okay? But nowadays they even go so far as to say, I never said that.
Okay.
I've never even thought of myself as being white. And you'll be talking about a person who is stone in the white supremacy. But under the refinement stage of white supremacy, they will deny things like black slavery. There's no such thing as that. Black people were never slaves. They were travelers. They liked to travel, and they liked to pick cotton. And, there's nothing wrong with cotton picking,
Okay.
They never picked cotton. They picked cotton because they just loved picking cotton. Maybe it's because cotton was white, you know. And they just loved to be around anything that was white. So that's why they were picking cotton. I mean, you know, they weren't slaves. They just couldn't go nowhere else and didn't want to be nowhere else but a cotton field. Why? Because they like being around white people, white cotton. You know, you know, that's just the way they are.
Just the way they are.
They'll be saying that 20 years from now, you bet.
Okay.
If they decide black people will buy into it.
Okay. Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Mr. Fuller, how about this? We got about 3 minutes. This is quick, but let's talk about your book for about 3 minutes. Go ahead, please, sir.
Well, everything that I'm trying to say, and I'm not saying it well at all, and I tell people that before they buy the book, because I don't write well at all.
Okay.
I'm supposed to have a counter-racist guide, but I tell people the truth, and that is I like to advertise it as being one of the best counter-racist books that's out here, but it's one of the worst written of the counter-racist books that is out here at a very steep price, because I've had to do everything myself from scratch. And in the beginning, with a person named Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, she helped me more than anybody. All right, and I want that every now and then. I'd like to repeat that for the record, financially and otherwise. Make contacts with people and all like that. In fact, she practically did just about all that, making contacts and personally making a financial contribution, and lost money trying to get my book out. So I just want to squeeze that in every now and then, because there are a lot of people who mourn the death of Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. But we have talked, me and Dr. Wilson had talked about death before she expired. So we kind of understood something about that. All right. So just like my own death, I'm prepared for it. All right. You should be. Everybody should be. And so I have a book about how to proceed on a day-to-day basis for the individual person. And that's what I say. Who considers him or herself a victim of the system of white supremacy. If you don't consider yourself a victim, then pass the book on to somebody else if you get it. Because it's not for you. It's only if you consider yourself a victim of racism right now that I say the book is for you. You should be able to pick it up anywhere in the book once you get it. ProduceJustice.com, you can get it there. Okay. Just pick it up and turn to any page. That's the best way to start reading it.
Okay.
Not try to read it from cover to cover. Just pick it up like you'd pick up, well, I don't like to make a comparison to the Bible or any other book. I just say, the procedure is just pick up any time of day. Just pick up the book and see if you see anything that'll help you do anything. And if it works, stick with it. If it doesn't work, find some other part of the book where you find something that does work.
Okay.
Because I wrote it like that.
You did good. Okay. Well, that is today's program. Thank you for everybody that participated in today's program. We got off to a slow start, but hey, we pursued, and we're just about at the finish line. So thank you for everybody that did that, all the callers. Pardon me for any mistakes that I've made. Remember some of this. Remember the things that were said in the program. Mr. Fuller, in the final 32 seconds, the word goes to you.
Pardon me for anything I may have said that shouldn't have been said, and any mistakes having to make about facts, particularly, and the truth. Any mistake that I made, make a note of it and remind me that I made a mistake.
All right. ProduceJustice.com, everybody.
.com.
Everybody have a good week. Mr. Fuller, thank you. Everybody else, thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you next week.
Thank you.